There are 7 things that you should be doing with your brand new DJI Mini 5 Pro as soon as you get it. Now these things are going to make your flying safer, your footage better, and also allow you to access one of my favorite features of the Mini 5 Pro, which for some reason isn't set up out of the box. So if you're new around here, my name is Justin, it is great to see your wonderful smiling face, and if you've been here before, it is great to have you back. So let's get started with the first one, which is going to be to do with our return to home settings. Okay, so in order to do that, the first thing we're going to do, power the controller and the drone on, and then we're going to click on the 3 dots in the top right hand corner just here. We're then going to go into the safety tab, which is what opens up initially. We're going to scroll down until we see the return to home settings here, and we have 2 options that I want you to take a look at. The first one we're going to look at is the auto return to home altitude. Now I want you to set this to the maximum legal limit that you're allowed to fly at in your country. What this means is when the drone is returning to home, it'll be able to fly high enough to clear any potential trees or buildings in the area. And if you just set it to the maximum limit you're allowed to fly at, you know that the drone is going as high as it physically can in order to make this as safe as possible. Now the next thing I want to point you to is the advanced return to home setting here. Here we have optimal or preset. Now I actually recommend that you change this from preset to optimal. What optimal allows the drone to do is make more of its own decisions when it's actually making its way back home. So if it feels like the environment is going to be safe enough not to climb all the way to that maximum altitude, then it won't do it, and it's going to preserve battery, make the return to home faster, and just make the whole process a little bit smoother. So I'm going to just quickly demonstrate for you both optimal and preset so you fully understand how these both work. So currently we're set to optimal. Let me go back. We're going to quickly take off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fly the drone behind the tree that you see on the screen here. So we're going to go up above the tree, we're going to go behind it, and then we're just going to lower our altitude so the tree is in between the drone and the home point. So we're dropping down, and now you can see the tree there is definitely blocking the home point from the drone. Now we currently have the return to home setting here on optimal. So when I click return to home, let's just take a look at what it does. So I'm going to use the button on the screen here on the left hand side. So tap on that, press and hold return to home, and you'll now see the drone is going to ascend and it's going to make its way back home, but it's not going to climb to that 120 meter altitude that we've given it the ability to climb to. Here it's only gone to 22 meters, which is more than high enough to clear the tree that's in its path, while still making a nice safe way back to the home point. This is way more battery efficient, way more time efficient, and it's just a lot easier for the drone to do this. Well, I think it's a lot easier and it's a lot less hassle than it going all the way up and making its way back. So here we go, it's about to land. We're just going to cancel that, and I'm going to reset and show you the preset return to home. Okay, so we're now back in a similar position. If I click the 3 dots in the top right hand corner and I change this from optimal now to preset, you'll see that when I hit return to home, like I'm doing right now, the drone is, instead of just going above the trees, it's going to climb all the way up to 120 meters. And we can see that using the AR display there on the screen. That green channel is showing you where the drone is planning to fly during its return to home. So if I tilt the gimbal up, we'll see that the drone is going to want to climb all the way up to 120 meters way up there in the sky, which is completely unnecessary in this situation, and it's just going to take a whole lot longer to get back. So we're going to let it get up there. It's now at 120 meters, and then it's going to make its way back, and then it's going to have to descend all of those 120 meters again in order to land. Not time efficient, not necessary. Use optimal, it's way better. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a small change to our obstacle avoidance settings. So we can do this in 2 ways. First of all, we need to be in cine or normal mode, because in sport mode, obstacle avoidance is automatically disabled. So make sure you're in cine or normal. And what we can do is in the top right hand corner here, there is a little obstacle avoidance symbol. It looks a little bit like a landing pad. So if you tap on that, you have the options here to select bypass, brake, and off. So even in normal and cine mode, you can turn obstacle avoidance off, which can be handy if you're trying to fly through tighter gaps. But another way that you can access this menu is by going on the 3 dots in the top right hand corner, and then on the safety screen, you see right at the top here, we have the manual obstacle avoidance action. And here I want to make sure it's set to bypass rather than brake. So when the obstacle avoidance action is set here to brake, when the aircraft approaches an obstacle, in this case, it's me, we're going to fly towards me. The aircraft is going to approach me, and then it's just going to stop a safe distance away and not come towards me. Look, I've got my finger pinned all the way forwards there. It will not get any closer. Now this can be a bit tricky and a little bit annoying in some situations. So what I recommend you do is change this from brake to bypass. So I'll do that using the quick action here on the screen. So we'll tap on that little symbol, switch it to bypass, and now when I fly towards me, the drone is going to calculate a safe route around me and then continue flying in its original direction. So if I press forward, it's going to approach me, swerve itself around me, and then continue flying forwards with no issues. This allows you to have a much more seamless flying experience, and especially if you're doing things like active track and stuff like that, you're going to want the drone to be able to maneuver its way around obstacles and keep following you, just in order to make things a little bit smoother. Now, whilst you are in those obstacle avoidance settings here, there is also the option for the bypassing options. If you have bypass selected, here you have normal and nifty. My recommendation, leave this on normal. Nifty means the aircraft is going to take a little bit more risk and fly a bit closer to obstacles, but in most situations it's not needed. Leave this set to normal. Okay, next up I'm going to give you a tip which is going to level up the quality of your video footage by changing two settings that are hidden a little bit in the menu system. So we're going to click here on the three dots in the top right hand corner. We're going to go over to camera, and then we're going to scroll down until we see the style section right here. There we go, we have style. Now if we click on the little drop down there, we have sharpness and noise reduction, and you're going to want to set these both to -2. Out of the factory, these are both set to 0, and out of the box, a lot of these DJI drones have way too much sharpness baked into them, which can make the footage just look over sharpened and really quite horrible. Cinematic footage tends to have a slightly softer look to it anyway, and something that I don't want you to get confused is sharpness isn't detail. Detail and sharpness are two separate things. Just having a sharp image doesn't mean you have a detailed image. You can have a detailed image without it being over sharpened and over processed and just looking a little bit weird. So I recommend you set your sharpness to -2. And the same here with noise reduction, especially if you're doing a lot of low light flying. Noise reduction can apply a sort of fake smoothing to the image, which again just takes away some detail. If you want to do noise reduction in post-production, it's much better to do it that way than doing it into the raw image. The same goes for sharpness. It's a lot easier to add sharpness back in post-production if you want it than trying to remove it from an image which has already got too much sharpness baked in. And for the best quality footage, you want the cleanest raw image that you can get. So in order to get that, we need sharpness and noise reduction both to be set to -2. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is also going to help to improve the quality of our video, and it's going to be to shoot in the D-Log-M color profile. The D-Log-M color profile records a flatter image in camera, which then allows you to have more control and more flexibility over that image in post-production when it comes to color grading and recovering details in the highlights and the shadows. D-Log-M helps to preserve these details in the highlights and shadows of our footage, whereas the normal color profile can tend to lose a lot of this detail, making our footage just less flexible in general. Now, the normal color profile will give you an image that you can use straight out of camera, but for my preference and to my eye, it always looks oversaturated and way too contrasty, and I prefer to shoot in D-Log-M and do my own color grading in post-production. So there's two ways that you can do this depending on if you're shooting in Pro or Auto camera mode. So we'll go to Auto camera mode first. So now you can see in the bottom right it says Auto. Now, in order to change to D-Log-M here, we need to go on the three dots in the top right hand corner, on the camera profile here, and here you can see the color section. You have normal, HLG, and D-Log-M. Normal, like I said, gives you that image that's ready to go. HLG, personally, I don't like it. Some people like that color profile. I don't like HLG. And then D-Log-M, which is the one that you should be using. Now, just below that, you can see it says Color Display Assist. What this does is this applies a color correction LUT to the image that you're seeing on your screen, so that when you're flying along, you still see a nice full color image whilst the drone still records that D-Log-M footage to its onboard storage or its memory card. Okay, so if you're in the Pro camera mode, so we'll click on the Auto there, that now changes to Pro. In order to change it, we're going to want to click on the bottom left-hand batch of controls here, and that's going to bring up a menu system, and here again we have the color options, so normal, HLG, or D-Log-M. Also, there's a quick toggle there for the color display assist, so if I turn that off, you'll now see displayed on the screen is that raw D-Log-M footage, and if I turn it on again, you'll see that full color image comes back on the screen. The drone is still recording in D-Log-M regardless of if the color display assist is on or off. Remember that. So I like to use D-Log-M, and DJI actually do supply their own D-Log-M to Rec. 709 conversion LUT, but I feel that this, again, just makes it look too much like the normal color profile footage. So because of this, I actually took the time and developed my own LUTs a long time ago, and I've recently just updated them and refined them a little bit so that they work really nicely along with this Mini 5 Pro. So I have my own D-Log-M to Rec. 709 conversion LUT. I have loads of color grades giving you really natural but nice looking color grades. I don't like color grades that push the image way too far and just make things look like you're filming on the planet Mars or something. What I like is a color grade that brings back the natural look and then just elevates it ever so slightly, and that's exactly what my LUTs are designed to do. If you want to get hold of my LUTs, I have a few different collections available, and I will leave them linked in the video description so you can go and check them out, and it's going to be a really easy way of taking advantage of that D-Log M color profile while still being able to have really nice cinematic fully color graded footage in no time at all. Okay, next up I'm going to show you how you can make using the new gimbal roll feature on the Mini 5 Pro a lot easier to use. So from the factory, in order to make this work, what you have to do is hold down the C1 button on the back and then move the right hand dial here, and now you can see the gimbal starts to roll. Now, this can be a lot of fingers to use whilst you're still trying to fly the drone. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can remove having to press the C1 button as well, and you can just use this right dial to control the gimbal roll. So we're just going to reset this to 0. You can do that actually by tapping on the 0 on the screen. That's a really quick way of just leveling out your gimbal. So what we're going to do, again, we're going back into these 3 dots in the top right hand corner. This time we're going into the control tab and we're going to scroll down until we see button customization right here. So we're going to click on that, and then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look down here at the right dial setting. It is the second box along, and here it's set to zoom in and out. Now this is handy, but the Mini 5 Pro already has that 2x zoom button already on the screen. If I go back to the main screen, here you can change between 1 and 2x really easily on the screen, so I don't think there's any need for this to be the zoom button. And if you want to do any zooming in post-production, it's much better to do that than doing it raw in camera using the scroll wheel. So let's go back into the settings. I'm going to change the right dial, so we're going to click on the drop down here. We're going to go into control, and then we're going to select gimbal roll. And now if we go back, we don't have to press the C1 button. All we have to do is use the right hand scroll wheel. We're going to push it to the left, and now the gimbal is rolling to the left. So if I now push forward, it's going to look like we're flying upside down. And who doesn't like flying upside down? Anyway, I digress. But that is a way that you can easily assign the gimbal scroll wheel, gimbal roll to the scroll wheel. If you want to use it or try it out, it's a lot easier than having to do all of these things while you're trying to do the other controls too. So if you plan on using that function, make sure you make that change. Okay, so the next one is a little bit of a surprise, and it is the fact that YouTube tells me that around 90% of the people watching this video are not currently subscribed to my YouTube channel. Now I get it, I often watch channels for months and months, and I don't even realize I'm not subscribed to them, but subscribing to my channel is the free and simple way that you can help to support my growth, and I have massive ideas for videos in the future. I'm not one of these basic YouTubers that just wants to make the same video over and over again. I have massive ideas, and I can only get there if you help me by just hitting that subscribe button. It's completely free. You're going to see my videos come up anyway. Do me a little favor, tap the subscribe button. Thank you so much for that. And let's get on to the next one, which is going to be setting it up so you can actually use one of my favorite features here on the Mini 5 Pro, which is cruise control. Now, out of the box, cruise control is not set up to work. You have to physically go in and activate it. So in order to set this up, we're going to go back into the same menu that we were in before. So 3 dots in the top right hand corner. We're going to go across to control, back to button customization, and here we're going to want to adjust the C2 button. So that's in the first batch here. We have C1 and C2. Now it's currently set to change between portrait and landscape. Now I don't think this is very necessary, because similar to the zoom, on the home screen right here, we have this button which allows us to change from horizontal to vertical, and then from vertical back to horizontal. We don't need a button on the back doing exactly the same thing. We might as well take advantage of the brilliant cruise control feature. So let's go back into the settings, click the drop down, and then we're going to go again onto control, and we're going to select cruise control, and now we've activated that fantastic feature here on the Mini 5 Pro. So let me just quickly show you how cruise control works. Okay, so in order to now use cruise control, I'll show you a quick demonstration here, but I am going to be coming out with a full cruise control tutorial here for the Mini 5 Pro, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that when it comes out. So in order to use it, what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to push forwards on the right-hand stick to get the drone moving forward. Now, whilst holding that stick forward, I'm then going to tap the C2 button on the back, and it's going to say cruise control enabled, aircraft in cruise control. So now the aircraft is going to continue to fly forward at the speed it was traveling when cruise control was enabled, until I either add another input to change the direction, or I cancel cruise control by pressing the button here on the screen, or by tapping the C1 button on the back there without touching the sticks, and that is going to cancel cruise control. Now, cruise control is a very powerful feature, and you can use it for more than just flying forwards. So you can actually input multiple controls on the sticks here. So let me do a little bit of a demonstration. We're going to fly forwards, slightly to the right, introduce a little bit of left yaw here, so we're getting a bit of an orbit style shot coming on. And with the Mini 5 Pro, we can also add gimbal rotation into cruise control. So I'm going to now just pan the gimbal, tilt the gimbal down ever so slightly, tap the cruise control button. Now cruise control has locked in all of these functions. The drone is moving to the right, moving forwards, yawing to the left, and also tilting the gimbal down. Now you can use this combination to get all sorts of nice cinematic shots. Now you don't have to put all of these controls in at once, you can actually stack them up one by one. So we could say start moving to the right here, press the cruise control button, happy days. Then if we wanted to input the left yaw, we could start to yaw to the left now. So moving left on the left stick. And now holding it there, I'm going to tap the cruise control button. You see now it says cruise speed updated, and it's now combined those two movements that we put in, but we didn't have to put them in at the same time. Now I'll go into more depth on this on my dedicated cruise control video, but that is a very basic introduction into cruise control and how to activate it on the Mini 5 Pro. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is something that you've actually probably already spotted on my screen, and it is the rule of thirds grid. Now you can see here these faint lines that make 9 little sections here on the screen. That is the rule of thirds grid. So in order to get this up, we're going to go again into the little 3 dots in the top right hand corner. We're going to go onto camera, and then we're going to scroll down until we see grid lines, which is this section here. And here we have the cross, which makes 4 quadrants, the rule of thirds grid there in the middle, and then the center point. So in order to select it, you just tap on it there, and then it's going to bring up the rule of thirds grid. Now this really helps you to get cinematic framing when you're getting your drone shots. The rule of thirds grid is such a powerful cinematic principle, and I'll give you a really quick tip here that you can use to get started using this rule of thirds grid. So you see here we have these different lines. If I just tilt the gimbal up a bit, we can see them a bit more clearly. Now generally with drone shots, we're flying in the sky and we're filming something that's on the ground. We're filming a landscape, something of that nature. So in order to make our shot feel more balanced, we don't want to have the shot like you're seeing on the screen now, where half of it is the sky and half of it is the ground. We're trying to focus a little more on the ground. So what we need to do is just tilt that gimbal down ever so slightly until the horizon now sits on that upper grid line like you see there. That is going to give your shot way better cinematic framing. Everything is just going to look more cinematic, feel more cinematic, and it's one of the secrets that I use every time I fly to get next level footage. Now if you want to know even more secrets to build on and become a much more cinematic and capable drone pilot, then I also have an advanced drone videography course, which will take you from either being a beginner or intermediate drone pilot all the way up to an advanced drone pilot and cinematic genius. It has already completely transformed people's footage, and I know that it's going to do exactly the same for you. We learn all about these cinematic principles, camera settings, how to fly the drone, being really comfortable and confident flying with the manual sticks here, so we don't always have to rely on things like spotlight mode, etc. And it is just the best way to go from A to Z to become the best pilot that you can be. So I will leave a link to that in the video description. Go and check it out. People absolutely love it. And if you want another way to stay up to date with everything going on in the drone space, I have a completely free weekly newsletter where I send you the latest drone news, hot tips, and a little bit of a behind the scenes look into what's going on in my life, so you get to stay up to date with everything that's going on in the drone scene, plus you also get a bit of a sneak peek into what's coming up potentially in future videos. It is completely free to sign up to. I send it to you every single week, and I will leave it linked in the video description. So those are the 7 things that you should be doing with your Mini 5 Pro. As soon as you get it out, you've now seen what I do, why I do it, and I hope that's all made sense for you. Make sure you are subscribed. There is going to be heaps of useful content coming out for the Mini 5 Pro in the very near future. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, you're also going to love this video right here. And if for some reason that one doesn't speak to you, then maybe this one here will instead. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.